To improve your capacity to influence a racism skeptic, you're going to have to learn how to be a good listener. This next lesson focuses on techniques that you can use to become a better listener. Reflect means before the conversation happens, you are getting ready for the conversation. Somebody asked, could you write down 2 comments? Y'all know what white folks say that bugs you. So what you want to do is to get ready for these conversations. You know what you're going to hear. You don't know when you're going to hear it, but you know you're going to hear that. So you get ready for that in advance. You get ready by looking at what do I need to do to be in listening mode? Because the different tricks that people have that are personal to them, and it's important to remember those. You do that in advance. You also are going to marshal some stories, something called a connect story and something called an expand story. I'm going to explain that in a minute, but the point is before the moment happens, you get your stories together as well as your listening tip. That's the pre-reflect. The reflect in the moment is something like this. Lucy says something racially problematic to Barbara. Now Barbara is very deep. So Barbara can just go, huh, and then engage it, but William is not as deep. In order for him to address that, he's got to say, that's interesting, Lucy. I got to go to the bathroom, but I got to talk to you in a minute. So he goes and gets himself together. He does the reflecting then. Okay, how do I do to stay in a listening mode? What are the stories I'm going to tell about this? And he comes back and says, okay, Lucy, let's talk about that, right? So you got to figure out what you need to do. The more you practice this, the more you'll be able to do it in one breath. But you might need to go to the bathroom or get your drink or whatever you need to do to get ready to engage it, right? So that's reflect in the moment, pre and in the moment. There's listening tips in 3 different categories. Some focused on your thoughts. One of the ones I love is when your racist Uncle Tony says something really problematic, think of him as a 5-year-old taking a bath. The naked child strategy is often effective in ginning up our empathy and helping us have compassion when somebody is acting a fool, right? So that's one strategy. Think back to a time when you want to be listened to. There are strategies that are focusing on your own thoughts. Strategies focused on the mind-body connection. Deep breathing is often a strategy. Some people said, when I want to listen, I put my tongue on the roof of my mouth. Because you can't talk with a tongue on the roof of your mouth, right? So that's a strategy. That's something to do. That's a strategy for you to stay in listening mode. And lastly, there's strategies that focus on the content of the exchange. Remind yourself that just because you listen empathetically doesn't mean you have to agree with it.
But what I remember is this centers me a lot when someone is being aggressive or scary, yelling, trying to intimidate me into not saying my point of view or believing their point of view. And then I remember that people scream because they're afraid. Mm-hmm. And they're afraid that they're going to lose control or not be respected. And so to remember, or even say to yourself, oh, you're feeling so scared right now in your head. Mm-hmm. That makes it easier to empathize with them also and remember that they're being a bully because they're afraid.
Very good. Thank you so much for that.
One of the things that we both discussed was how easy it is to get angry again. Mm-hmm. And it occurs to me that a lot of us are feeling more and more self-righteous in these times, and so before I even embark, I better get myself clear, because the feelings are pretty strong, and if I can't get right with myself, then that will be a mess.
You have to, right on. Yes, there's responding to people who are angry and staying centered, but my sense as a general matter is that a whole bunch of these conversations are not driven by the skeptic getting angry, but the ally becoming angry. And so a core thing to do is for you to stay centered. And so what we're thinking about is, what do you have to do for you to stay centered and listening? one strategy for grappling with these kind of problematic remarks is to remember that that perspective is part of how racism functions. Part of how racism functions, it produces a certain kind of blindness and even resentment among certain people. One way to try to stay centered as you're figuring out how to engage that, not avoid, not confront, but engage it, is to interpret the information you're hearing as this is what racism looks like. I don't have to get mad at this person, or I don't have to get angry or sad or disgusted. I can just remember, oh, this is what racism looks like, and then you try to engage it. The core message here is for you as an ally to just start thinking about, what do I need to do to stay in listening mode? If some situation happens, I'm going to take a break to get ready for it. What do you need to do in that moment? And it could be that what you think you need to do and then you try, it doesn't really work. You need to try something else. So again, I'm looking at this as a lifelong practice question, and you becoming more attuned to what works for you as a listener is what this is about, what this particular exercise is about. Now that you've thought about how to be a better listener, it's time to go out and practice. And the good news is you don't have to wait for a race conversation about that. You can practice your listening skills on any topic at any time.